What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody? The NBA playoffs have advanced to the conference finals. To get here, we had 2 Game 7s, including one between the Sixers and Raptors, that ended in one of the most amazing finishes in NBA history. To talk about it all, we have our man LDub on tap, and we're going to jump right into it, getting his insight on all the games and his predictions on the conference finals. So thanks for stopping by as we talk NBA hoops on Sports 360. We have now reached the conference finals in the NBA playoffs, and our man LDub joins us once again to talk about the conference finals matchups that are on tap, and to also take a look at the second round series that got us here. So Larry, how you doing, man? I know you had to enjoy the games we had over these past couple of weeks.
The closer it got to the end, Jeff, it got more exciting, and I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
Yeah, I mean, it really did. I mean, I think the NBA had some great matchups, and, we had, 2 great Game 7s, and we're going to talk about all of that in a couple of minutes. But, I'm looking forward to the conference finals, man. I mean, they kick off tomorrow with Golden State and Portland, and then the next day we're going to get Toronto and Milwaukee. But hey, Larry, why don't we look at the series out west and talk about what happened in the Western Conference, where we had 2 great series, Denver and Portland, and Houston and Golden State. And as we know, Golden State and Portland emerged victorious. But why don't you give us your overview of those 2 series that we saw out west?
Well, to start with that Warriors in my hometown, Houston Rockets. Again, I've been noted on your show several times of telling you I just didn't think Houston had the arsenal, offensively to deal with Golden State. And it actually came down to that because, there wasn't much defense played in Game 7 on either end, really, to just say somebody was playing defense. There was a lot of missed shots and a lot of offensive, defensive rebounding. But, when the smoke finally cleared, the Warriors had more, had shot more, had hit more of their targets than the Rockets did. And it still goes back to that little saying that I used to always tell you, or we talked about, that offense wins games, but defense wins championships. And I just don't think the Rockets had the personnel on the floor, just take what they got. I just don't think they put the personnel on the floor to contend defensively with the Warriors. I mean, you had a lot of offensive guys on the floor for the Rockets, but Chris, to his advantage, I'm gonna go ahead and say Chris is old. He can't stay with them young guards the way he used to, so he has to do tactics. But that don't work when a guy's 3 inches taller than you or 4 inches taller than you. But the rest of them, I still think you had people like P.J. Tucker, who is a defensive guy, but for some reason they tried to get more offense out of him than they tried to get defense out of him. I mean, so all you kept hearing, was, hey, yeah, look, P.J., he shoots from the corner. I mean, P.J. wasn't even supposed to be one of the top 3 scorers on the team. You had the guy Manimal over there who came to get the, be the tough guy on the inside, and they didn't even give him a chance to get on the floor. Had a young kid, Daniel House, who came there and wouldn't have never cried about a shot. He enjoyed playing defense, never got on the floor. So, having said all that, with the Warriors being who they are, offensive juggernaut, with Thompson scoring 21 points in the first quarter when Stephen didn't even score. I mean, you still got a tie game going into the second quarter. You got to know you're not going to hold Steph Curry to 0 points. And when he did come out, I mean, he came out. And again, goes to show you, You may have offense, but you don't go in a duel with somebody with more offense than you thinking about offense. You go in there figuring out how to stop them. And
They were in trouble, Houston. I mean, when, because Steph didn't score the entire first half, and it was still a game, and you knew that was trouble. But you said something interesting about Chris Paul. You talking about his tactics. One of the things that came out after the game, and you may have heard about this too, was he tried to disrupt Steph's pregame routine, supposedly, because he found out that Steph wanted to get on the court at a certain time, to get some shots up.
Cool.
And so Chris then goes to the gym and gets on the court right before Steph gets on there, and wouldn't let Steph get on the court. And the report I heard was Steph was like, well, why don't you take one half of the court? I'll take the other half. And Paul said no. So, he probably was trying to mess with his head or whatever. And if you saw after the game, when Steph was walking in the tunnel, he started yelling out. He said, yeah, kick me off the court again, boy.
I mean, and that's that's the backlash that comes with things you do. As you do get older and you realize you can't keep up with a lot of people, so you have to use other tactics. You got to get into the mind games, like you said. However, you got to understand who you're dealing with. Some people you don't want to ever piss off. And I'm gonna tell you, Steph Curry, he'll look like a little choir boy, but the history tells you Steph is not that little, guy you can just pick on and do what you want to do. Steph fights back, So, and again, it may have backfired on Chris, but again, he understood what he was dealing with, so he had to try every trick in the book, to try to even the odds.
Yeah.
You talk 30-year-old guy and almost a 20-some-year-old guy. You're talking about almost 40-year-old guy. After 35, man, you 40, in age, in sports-wise. No, in sports-wise, if you're 30, you're 35. If you're 35, you're 40. I mean,
right.
You're dealing with the next generation now. And, these guys don't, they don't get the memo like what you used to be no more. These guys come in there talking about what they are. It ain't about you no more. These young kids come in with a different mentality.
Yeah. But, Dub, I will tell you this, though, more so than last year, I found myself this year disappointed in Houston. I thought that because of the way they lost last year with Chris Paul going down with the injury, and they were up 3-2 in that series, Houston was. And, Golden State wins the next two games. And Houston was gunning for them all year long, right? And they were saying, we want them, we want them, we want them. And I thought Houston really was one of the few teams that, to me, they don't fear Golden State. I think they relish the challenge, and they're going to play how they play. And they thought that was going to be a winning formula. Well, when KD goes down, right? I mean, yeah. I thought first of all they should have taken advantage of that in Game 5, and they didn't. But I didn't think they were going to automatically win the series. But I will tell you this: I thought they would win Game 6, and I thought they would, maybe dominate is too strong of a word, but I thought that they would, really control that game. And for them to not only not control the game, but to end up losing that game, to me, that's a disappointment. Given that KD was not available in Game 6 and wasn't going to be available if there were to be a Game 7. So I don't know where Houston goes from here. As you said, Chris Paul is getting a little long in the tooth. And they have some decisions to make. But I don't know where they go from here. But to me, this year for Houston is more disappointing than last year.
I would say the same thing also, but sports is a little different than, things that happen in life, and you say, okay, somebody's not going to show up for work tomorrow. What you going to do? Sports, sometimes people, especially reserved players, they relish the fact that someone is out, and now they get a chance to step up and show. And I kind of think that's the reserves for Golden State. Man, they here. You always talk about KD, Steph, and Clay, and Draymond. Those guys want to be noted as players too. So there's a lot of fighting them guys. And the thing about it is they know they're going to play. Where you got players on Houston too. Use Gerald Green for an example, a great shooter. Gerald, some games didn't even get on the court. Some games he got on the court, got pulled right back out, got put back in. Then he got put in some games to go and play D, which is not his forte. Not that he can't play defense, it's just not his forte. He's a 3-point shooter. And those are the things, the unknown, being a player and not knowing what your coach is going to ask out of you in a given night, not knowing whether you're going to play or not. That's hard to deal with when you got those guys on the Warriors saying, hey, I know at the 4-minute mark I'm going to give somebody a blow. Now I'm prepared and I'm ready. And they're hoping to be the star that day. Not to overshine those guys, but to be that guy that they say, hey, he stepped up. Good job. And that's what they do, man. And you can tell those guys. Remember we talked earlier, I said it's hard to beat a team that really get along with each other. And you can tell all of those guys from 1 to 15 get along with each other on the Warriors bench. And KD needs to go out of their way to make sure those guys feel just as important as they are.
Yeah. And now, and now Houston, goes home, right? As the boys on TNT said, they're gone fishing. And Golden State moves on. And they're going to be playing Portland. And Portland took out Denver in 7 games. Another very, very competitive series. And again, I think, to piggyback on your point, I believe Portland is another one of those teams where those guys seem to get along, you know what I mean? And they go about their job in a very professional way. And I think, you have to credit the coach, but you also, most of all, probably have to credit Damian Lillard for his leadership. But talk a little bit about the Portland-Denver series before we get into the conference finals.
Again, I had already, we talked about earlier, I had predicted that Portland would win this series. And I thought it actually would be in 6 games, but it took 7. I mean, it doesn't matter to those guys. They get paid in the winner won, the loser lost. But I think, the maturity factor, the fact that Dame and CJ have been in the league a little longer than Joker and Murray played a factor. It played a big factor. What do you do in crunch time? Who do you get a ball to? Will my guys be upset if I shoot this long 3? No, because that's what you do, and we've seen you do it so many times. Again, the understanding that the whole team has about each player's role. I think Stocks makes it pretty obvious and notice that, hey, Dame can do what he wants to do the way he wants to do it, and when he, passes over to CJ, he basically gets to do what he wants to do. The rest of you guys got a shorter leash, and you know it, so let's stay within the contract. And that's it. It's just the knowing. It's just knowing what's expected of you that makes the game easier or don't. And with Denver, the style of offense that they play, Coach Malone seems to just, someone said this, but I had already talked to my nephew about it. I said, man, look like guys just going to 4 now, and coaches don't even have any say. They just do what they want to do. That ain't the play. That ain't even close to the play. They just running what they want to run. So basically you sent a young, immature team, and I ain't saying immature meaning like they're, make mistakes. They're just a younger team out on the floor against a veteran team like Portland, and you told them basically find your way. Well, it's easier said than done, because Dame does what Dame does. He's a dragon slayer, and that's what he did. He did it in Oklahoma series. He did it in this series. And you saw right at the end of the game, Joker had been doing everything right. I mean, this kid for 6 games did nothing wrong. And he couldn't hit free throws. He make one, miss one. Make one, miss another one. You know, he's like, come on, man. This is the time they need you to step up. And he didn't come through. So,
yeah.
And, you know, that's just a part of, you know, he'll learn from that. Next year he'll grow from that.
But, you know, I tell you though, I give a lot of credit to Damian Lillard, you know, in a lot of ways, right? He's professional, he's clutch, you know, he's a true leader and all the rest of that. But in this series, to me, CJ McCollum was the difference. I mean, especially in yesterday's game, you know, game 7, because Dame didn't have his shot yesterday. But to Dame's credit, he rebounded the ball, he was dishing assists, and he was still providing leadership and guidance out there on the floor, which, you know, for a lot of guys, man, like Kyrie Irving, we'll talk about him in a minute, shot not falling, bad body language, no assists, no rebounds, you know what I mean? Because his shot's not falling. Right. But, you know, Dame's shot wasn't falling, but he was contributing in other ways. But CJ McCollum was the man yesterday. And, you know, and even in game 6, I mean, CJ played big, you know, those last 2 games and really throughout the series, I thought. And so, you know, it was good. It was, look, as young as Denver is, they're a very talented team, obviously. And again, this went the full 7, so it was very competitive. But Portland, you know, certainly found a way to pull it out, and now they go on to face Golden State. So let's get to that, man. Let's get to the conference final. Let me see if you're going to, you know, if you're just going to go chalk and pick Golden State. So who you have, Golden State or Portland?
Man, you know I got the Warriors in 6, man, and I can tell you why I got them, man. I mean, it's gonna be a competitive game, so you know, in 6, you know, that means 4 and 2, and that doesn't know where those 2 gonna come from, but you know they're gonna squeeze out there too because they are a great team. But the backcourt battle is gonna say a lot, and the reason I give the edge to the Warriors is they got 3 great backcourt players. And then when Quinn Cook comes in, you know, if he does come in, if they got a 10-point lead, he doesn't really slack off. Quinn Cook can hurt you with the threes. And I know they have Seth Curry that's going to be coming off the bench on their side. That's just 3 still against 4. So that's going to be a problem. The other one is, you know, whichever one of the guards, and Dame has shown he can get in foul trouble. CJ showed he can get in foul trouble. And the same thing with the guards for Portland. Dame gets in foul trouble. I mean, with the Warriors, Steph gets in foul trouble. You know, Clay gets in foul trouble, and then KD not playing. You know, that kind of, you know, balances it up. But I still say, just the fact that they've been there, man. Once you've been to the promised land, you know everything that's going to happen. You've done it. You fulfilled this, you know, prophecy before. You know, whatever your goal was, you've achieved it. Portland have not. You know, they haven't gotten to the championship. So, you know, still it's going to be some trial and error for a lot of guys. Not people like Dame. Dame going to be Dame. CJ going to be CJ. But you know, those guys may have a little problem with that limelight because it becomes different, you know, from anything else. Just like when you get to the finals, that's going to be a total different ball game from the conference final. I mean, it just each level elevates more pressure.
Yep.
So I give the edge to the Warriors because they have been there. The coach knows how to prepare them a little bit better because he has been there and he had to prepare them. You know, not only once, you know, they've been there multiple times. So
all right.
I give the edge to the Warriors.
Well, I'm going with the upset special. I'm picking Portland.
You can always do that. You can say, I had this guy on TV, on my radio show talking to me, and this is what he said. That's an easy way out, man. But
how's that an easy way out? You said Golden State.
Well, that's the easy way out. I say that's the easy way out. Okay, I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
Well, I'm taking Portland. I mean, you know why? I just think, look, I think that most people are going to pick Golden State in this series for a lot of reasons you said, and primarily because I believe there are some who say, look, until you beat the champ, I'm still going with them kind of thing. But somebody's going to beat the champ one day, and I just believe that day is coming sooner than people think. And I do think that Portland, I think they're playing with a great deal of confidence at home and on the road. And I think they have some toughness on the inside with I like that kid, Zach Collins, man. And Cantor gives you some toughness in there. And even the other player, I forget his name. He came in yesterday, and he gave some minutes in the second half. But I just like them. I think they're deep. I think they have a good combination of youth and some veterans, and even Evan Turner. Evan Turner played big off the bench yesterday. And I don't know. It's just something about the way they're playing this year. They just have sort of a really quiet confidence about themselves. And, I think they're going to go in here and, they're going to shock people. And so I'm going on the board with Portland in the West.
I mean, I like what you're saying. Rodney Hood, Aminu and Seth Curry also. Rodney Hood is having his best year since he left Utah. He's playing like he, used to play when he started for Utah, when he was averaging 25, 30 points a game. He's playing at that level. But here's what I'm saying. It's still only one ball, and Warriors have shown with one ball they know what to do. Again, you can have all the players in the world that are good. And a perfect example of that was that team that George McGinnis, World Be Free, Dr. J, all them guys when they was in Philly, they had the best players, but one ball. Doug Collins, Bobby Jones, and Maurice Cheeks, my idol. That's a guy I grew up in Texas watching at West Texas State. I wanted to be like. And just seeing them guys play, one ball wasn't enough. They had to
but what's that got to do with Portland, though?
No, what I'm showing you the fact that they got the players, but those guys have not been there yet. And it's a known fact that the Warriors have been there with one ball and a lot of shooters, but you can tell they know how to coexist and when to give, Clay his shine, when to give KD his shine, when to give Steph his shine. Portland is going to have to show me that they got that. I'm telling you, these series don't show it because Dame and CJ, I'm being honest, carried those guys. Basically, Cantor did what he's supposed to do on the inside. And like you said, Collins came in off the bench and was a monster last game. But it was 4 other games, Collins didn't do anything. So, you think about all those things, that they're doing, and you say to yourself, okay, will he show up? I mean, I can't bank on that. I'm just going to bank on what I know that they do consistently. So that's why I give the edge to the Warriors.
All right. Well, that's all good, but Portland's winning this series. Sorry.
That's why the game must be played, partner. Okay.
That's right. And so I'm going with the Blazers in this one. All right. So let's go out to the East. And let's talk with what was the least competitive series of the 4, and that's Milwaukee-Boston. Milwaukee took care of Boston in 5 games after losing that first one, and so much for Paul Pierce, who said, after Boston won the first game, he said, that's it, Milwaukee's not going to win the series. That's why Paul Pierce probably needs to go home. But, Milwaukee came and dominated the rest of that series. We can talk a little bit about that one, and then go on to Toronto, Philly. But first, what did you see in that Milwaukee-Boston series?
Again, I saw Giannis figured it out, and that's dangerous. When you see a guy like Giannis who's as athletic as he is with so many skill sets, and mind you, that shooting is not one of his skill sets, but the other thing, the energy he brings, the rebound he brings, the tenacious of tacking you down, going downhill and, trying to dunk on any and everybody at every point, once he gets into the lane. That wears on you, man, and he did that consistently against Boston, even though they kept saying, we're going to make him shoot the jumper. He still struggled a few games, but he figured it out. He figured out what I need to do. Do I need to make the extra pass? Do I need to start inside and work my way out? I just saw Giannis grow up in that series. And then I saw another player that we knew, and still has probably the most skills of any guard in the NBA. I saw Kyrie actually drive his stock. Not only because, like I said, he wasn't, able to score or whatever, but like you said, as a point guard, you have to have leadership. And I really didn't see the leadership. You saw, like you said, his body language was bad, his whole demeanor. Like if he wasn't shooting well, he's not going to go try to rebound. He's missing assignments on defense, and it was noted after one game, they all talked about it, that, we were missing assignments and everything. Come on, man. You're at that part of your career now. You can't, especially if you're going to chastise those younger guys. And it was just quoted the other day that one of the players was asked that they're out of the playoffs, and he was asked the other day. He said, hey, he is a great player. It's just that, he's not anybody I really want to follow, have as my leader. So that says a lot about, these are professional guys, supposed to be professional athletes. He didn't waver to say that. He didn't try to badmouth him and say, Kyrie wasn't skilled or anything. It's just that he's a point guard and he's not a very good leader. And when people start saying that about you when that's your job to lead, that's a hard pill to swallow right there.
Yeah. And I like Kyrie as you do. And it was disappointing to see him play the way he did. And when I say play the way he did, I'm not even talking about the poor shooting. I'm talking about the other aspects of the game, how he really kind of packed it in. You know what I mean? He just wasn't, he didn't contribute in other ways and didn't, exhibit the leadership that he should have as, a veteran on that team, the one who has a championship ring. It was really disappointing. And I do agree. Giannis didn't grow up, and you saw him, he had a bad game one, right? Boston had a good defensive plan for him. But he didn't make any excuses after the game. He said, I got to play harder. I got to play better. And that's what he did. And that's what the rest of the team did. And so they took care of Boston in 5 games, and they looked pretty impressive doing it. So
before you go on, Jeff, I want to piggyback. You said something really important. You said, Giannis didn't make any excuses. He said he had to play harder. That is the difference between international players that come here not with entitlement but trying to make a name for themselves and understanding that they have to play harder because Americans have been playing basketball much longer than they have, and they understand the game and got better instructions than they do wherever they're at. Then American guys, they just feel when I'm drafted, I'm entitled to certain things. I don't have to work as hard. Or some players, and I'm not saying all, but for the majority, we're talking about. I don't want to skip into the next series, but I have to use the comparison him and someone like a Ben Simmons. And I don't want to use Embiid because Embiid on his worst day is still better than most people. So it's kind of hard to be 7 foot. But I'm going to use Ben Simmons, who's a freak of nature at his size and a point guard, who even though he's in Australia, but he spent a lot of time in the United States and played at LSU at college, and coming here just thinking, it's supposed to happen for me. No, you have to make it happen every night, and that's the thing that guys don't realize when they get to the NBA. You can be judged on not what you did today, but every night and the consistency in which you do it. And if you can't keep it consistent, people are gonna rag on you. That's just it.
Yeah, so, I mean, and Giannis, like we're saying here, I mean, he was accountable. He took responsibility and said, "I have to bring it," and starting from game 2 on through game 5, that's exactly what he did. Led by example, and the rest of those guys followed his lead, and they took care of Boston in short order. So, yeah, they really look good, man. They really look good, and now they're facing a Toronto team that got past Philadelphia in 7 games. And look, if we're going to talk, there's a lot we could talk about in that series, and it probably, we don't have the time to do all of the talking about that series as we probably could. But man, that last shot by Kawhi Leonard, I mean, come on, man. That's the kind of stuff you see in the movies. You know what I mean? The game is tied. The hero puts the shot up. It hits the rim, bounces in slow motion 2 or 3 times, and then drops through, and the crowd goes wild. You've seen that in the movies hundreds of times. This happened in real life. I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
It's like you just sitting there waiting on it. No, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But how it's going to happen, I don't know. But it's about to happen. So now, layman term, we're here at home watching it, knowing it's about to happen, right? Now you're a coach, and they took a time out prior to that 4-second play. Defense assignment was set. How does Kawhi get the ball is all I want to know. How? I don't care if all 4 guys go to Kawhi and one guy just tries to, take whoever gets the ball other than Kawhi. I don't care. It's only 4 seconds. Do not let Kawhi Leonard get the ball. That's all that you write on a piece of paper.
He got the ball easy.
It effortlessly. I mean, it wasn't even a drag play or anything like that. No one. I mean, the guy was already playing behind his man at the elbow, where he didn't ever try to come over top as if though you're trying to show to make him go wider or anything. They let him come clear path. Got the ball. They forced him to the corner, which is where you try to force him, I guess. You don't want him to get in the middle and make you foul him. He goes to the corner, and now 2 people lead. Embiid leads his man to go help Ben Simmons because he gets picked off and tries to jump up, but it's too late. Kawhi shot, and Kawhi, finishes fiddling right in front of his teammates on the ground. Soon as the shot goes up, they lift him up to throw him like, "You're the hero. You that dude we all knew was."
Yeah. But that was an unbelievable ending, obviously. I heard on TNT afterwards that they said that was the first Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history. So, we saw something, obviously, that we've never seen before from that perspective, but also just the way the ball went into the hoop, man. I mean, you can't, again, you can't make that up. And you're watching it. And as you're watching it live, you can actually hear the ball bouncing on the rim. I mean, it's almost like the crowd went quiet or something, as it was just bouncing on the rim 3 or 4 times, and it goes through. But look, it was a very competitive series. Toronto, emerges from that series. But I'm just going to say this real quickly because I don't think it's worth a lot of talk right here. Milwaukee's going to take care of these boys because Toronto is a one-man show right now. And I do give Serge Ibaka credit because he's played really well in 2 out of the last 3 games. Kyle Lowry,
he's had enough reps. He should play well.
but he did play well. I think he deserves credit for that. Kyle Lowry, I thought had some moments, especially in yesterday's game. There was a couple of times where he of all people was getting offensive rebounds that led to some buckets for his team. But I was texting you during the game yesterday, and I was really disappointed in Pascal Siakam. Right. He played scared. There were times when he got the ball and he was treating it like a hot potato. He couldn't wait to get that ball out of his hands and throw it to Kawhi Leonard. They can't win with him playing that way, and they can't win with these guys, whether it's Van Fleet coming off the bench or Lowry going into funks or whatever, and just thinking, throw the ball to Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard took 39 shots yesterday. Yep. 39. They can't win like that.
That last one.
I understand. I understand, but if they think they're going to beat Milwaukee like that, and Milwaukee's going to have all these guys playing well, they got guys off the bench playing well. Brogdon is now back. It's, in my opinion, right now, Milwaukee's playing probably the best ball of the four teams in playing right now. But here's the thing: they're certainly playing better than Toronto. I think they're more well-rounded than Toronto. And Toronto has a transcendent player in Kawhi, but Milwaukee has a transcendent player too. And the difference is Milwaukee has, I think, a more balanced and complete team than Toronto, and guys who are willing to show up. So I'm going with Milwaukee in this one. I think they're going to beat Toronto. And I look forward to them going to the finals.
I'm sorry you said yours first, because now you're going to think I'm just piggybacking on you. But these are things I thought about. I had already said Milwaukee, it'll go 7. I think it'll go 7. Simply because, again, only because of that guy named Kawhi. I can't count him out. I know, but the reason I give Milwaukee the chance of winning is that reason. Kawhi played a lot of minutes in the first series, man. He had to carry him literally a lot of time. And I don't think he can continue that pace in another series. So if someone don't step up, it probably will go shorter than that. But I'm just saying the dog that I think Kawhi is, he's going to find a way to push through. And each team bench can produce, but I'm with you. I just think because Brogdon is back, because, Bledsoe is playing well, Brook Lopez is playing well, and Chris Middleton, had an all-star season already. Mm-hmm. He's an all-star. I think that's just too much. We ain't even got, to the point of like I said, where we start talking about a lot of the other players like Giannis and stuff and what he's going to do. But those guys, I think, have been a better supporting cast than what Kawhi has. And let's just say all being even with Giannis and Kawhi, the game would easily go to Milwaukee. To me.
Yeah. So I see Milwaukee in this one too. So, all right. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I'm going with Milwaukee. You're going with Milwaukee, and out west, you taking the easy money with Golden State, and I'm taking the hard money with Portland. So.
Hey, say what you mean and mean what you say. If what you saying ain't what you mean, change it then, man. Come on now. Don't make it
No. What's that supposed to mean? I mean
NBA teams, anybody capable of beating anybody on a given day. So
that's right.
Ain't no easy route.
Okay.
They both got here.
All right. Yeah. Rip City. That's all I got to say.
All right, don't make me pull out my broom, make my phone calls and pull that broom out. I should be 4-0 and you be bored like ain't nothing else on TV. That's the first thing you say, man. Because you don't like. I'm serious. I won't watch baseball until it gets to the playoffs, man.
It's funny you say that. I'm the same way.
There's too many games to be watching.
Yeah.
One day you're gonna have your ace pitching, next day you're gonna have the bottom of the bullpen pitching. Mm-hmm. No, I ain't got time to watch all that.
No, I generally don't turn to baseball until after the finals are over. NBA finals are over. So right now, I mean, I'm enjoying these games, and I'm looking forward to the conference the conference finals. And here's the thing: we talked about this earlier on one of our other shows. This again was a postseason and continues to be a postseason without LeBron James. And I'm telling you, right? We said it from the beginning. NBA wasn't going to suffer for it. And this is not a knock at LeBron. I think it's just really a tip of the hat to the depth of talent and star talent that the NBA has. We've had some great series. I think, by and large, America, got to see and understand how good, the Joker is and Kyle Murray, you know what I mean? I think some of them got a little taste of guys like a CJ McCollum. I mean, guys who, if you're a real basketball fan, these guys, but if you're a casual fan, you may not.
I'm a basketball fanatic. I didn't know Craig until the playoffs started. I'm being honest.
Me either. And I give that guy a lot of credit for his toughness and the way he goes about playing. I mean, I hear you.
So you hit it on the head, man. I think Toronto fan base really showed that, hey, basketball ain't going nowhere in Toronto for a long time. Those guys will support you through thick and thin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So no, it's been really good, and I've enjoyed it, and I know you have as a guy who's been in basketball all these years. But there've been some good games, and I think we're going to have good conference finals, and they tip off tomorrow with Portland and Golden State. So, the other thing too, and as we wrap up here, tomorrow is a draft lottery. Mm-hmm. Right, so we got the draft lottery coming. Knicks get the number 1 pick. They're going to take Zion and they're going to sign KD. And the Knicks are going to return to glory. That's my prediction.
I mean, anybody that lives in New Jersey or New York, that's their prediction. We understand, man. It's been a long, hot, dry spell out there in New York, man. And we're going to bring the Mecca back, And let me tell you why my disdain sometimes come from New York is me growing up in Texas when we had a lot of basketball players that were better than the players that they were claiming were the best players in New York. But they said, Texas is a football state. But Texas was big enough to be football, basketball, baseball, and tennis state at the same time and still have what everybody else had. And I know New York was big too, but we're talking about the whole state of Texas. We had players, man, and that sometimes is my disdain for when they say New York, is the Mecca of basketball. I understand, you talking about ball handling and style and grace and, but as far as athletic shooters and guys who dominate a game, I can name so many from Texas. It's crazy. So that's why someone says, I mean, it's nothing against anyone from New York. It's just that's my disdain with people trying to put it out there like that if you wasn't from New York, you wasn't a ball player, And it was like that for a long time in my era.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we used to walk around with a chip on our shoulder looking for them. Whatever you want to play, just let me know.
Right. And see, I'm from New York. I am a New Yorker. And so I get that. But here's the thing, look, good ball players come from everywhere. You know what I mean? So there's no place that has the corner on the market on talent, right? So we know that. But I will say this, I think the NBA wants and needs New York to be successful. Correct. And more successful than it has been. And so I think, beyond New York or tri-state, New York fans who are rooting for the Knicks to get Zion and to sign KD and to make the type of changes that can lead them to be competitive, beyond the fans that are rooting for that to happen, NBA front office is rooting for that to happen too.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I hope the Nets get 2 free agents that are just awesome. Just for that reason. Just so they can say, okay, well, we're gonna get y'all to come across the bridge.
Hey, Yeah, because you're right. You're right about that. Because the Nets have a good nucleus and good young players, and they're right here in New York. They're in Brooklyn, so But I do think the Knicks being a more iconic franchise, right, with a deeper fan base. You know what I mean? A fan base that goes back more years because they've been around longer.
Into it, yeah, the history of it.
Yeah. So I think so we'll see what happens. But LDub, listen, man, good catching up with you again. Talking about these the conference finals that are about to tip off, and also the previous series that led us here. And it should be fun. So listen, man, enjoy the game. We're gonna come back probably before we get to the NBA finals. I have a couple of ideas, man, and we got to chop it up a little bit, but we'll talk offline about that. But listen, until then, enjoy the games, and we're going to be talking soon, okay?
Will do, man. Thank you, bro. Take care and enjoy your family.
All right, you too, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Scully.